All right, we're back on the Virtual Antics podcast. I am so excited because today I am here with Katherine Mccord, and she has a really interesting story that caught my attention right away, and I'm so excited to talk with her today. So welcome, Katherine.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be with you.
Yeah, I'm so excited you're here. Can you tell us a little bit about, what you do, who you are? I know you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I run a people operations consulting business, which is the people side of HR. And I do a lot of education and speaking around topics of inclusion, best hiring practice, innovating HR, that type of thing. I have a lot of fun with it. That's actually my favorite part of the job is teaching. I really have a lot of fun with that. And I've kind of got my own kind of quirkiness too. So I have both physical and neurodiversities. I have more diagnosed people in their 70s and 80s, which is a lot of fun. I actually one time had AFLAC think that they had my age wrong when I signed up for it. They're like, there's no way that we have your age right, but you do. It was really funny. They were very apologetic. It was cute, but it's been interesting. And one of my big things is that I am successful with my diagnoses, not in spite of them. So I do a lot of talking around different is not a deficit.
Yeah, 100%. And I've discovered that as well in my personal journey. So some people, I talk about this quite a bit, but I was misdiagnosed with bipolar as a child. So to live with that stigmatism and then finding out that I actually have ADHD and OCD and PTSD and all the letters in the, vocabulary there, right? You understand my pain. So actually helps me become an amazing entrepreneur. So isn't that crazy? And I know that most of the entrepreneurs that I know have some sort of diagnosis. Isn't that
It's true. Yeah, it's very true. In fact, there have been some interesting articles kind of linking entrepreneurship to neurodiversity and vice versa, and neurodiversities and mental health diagnoses being caused by entrepreneurship as well. And I'm with you. It's kind of my superpower, but it makes it easier for me. My OCD especially keeps me organized. But even my mania in my bipolar, it actually helps me because I work like a superhuman. I kind of do anyway, but especially during my mania, I just kind of go 90 to nothing like a freight train. And it's kind of amazing. So, everything's got its upsides, even when it's a little difficult to manage occasionally.
That's awesome. I feel like it also makes us more understanding as human beings, like because we can kind of relate to people that are different, especially you can talk to some people and you can just see how different they are compared to everyone else in the world. And it makes you relate to them and you're like, oh, I'm not alone because I'm different, I love that. Definitely the weird child. And I absolutely love everyone that is different and unique because that's what makes us, strong. Like you said, the superpower, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I gravitate towards people who are neurodiverse. I'm fascinated by a lot of, especially people who are on that spectrum. And I also am very much drawn to people who kind of have a positive spin on it, who aren't kind of set. And I want to give grace to those who are in a negative headspace about their diagnosis. I think everybody goes through that and there's nothing wrong with it. But especially once you kind of come out of that and you start to realize that the disability is often imposed on you, not so much actual reality. Sometimes it is, and that's okay. But so a lot of times it's imposed on you and you kind of get out of that mindset. That's a cool thing to watch. And it's amazing to watch people kind of grow past that and to kind of really kind of embrace who they are and realize I'm just different. There's nothing wrong with me. It just in how I process and how I function. And that's it. It's very simple.
100%. And it can be really hard to create that positive mindset because you kind of think of it like this. So one of my actually clients in my marketing agency was a brain retraining client. So they taught people who were always sick with physical ailments, how to retrain their brain to start thinking, oh, you're not sick, you're not hurting, you're, more positively, you're alive, you're well, and actually got rid of a lot of their physical symptoms, which is absolutely insane because I know I've woken up and I'm like, oh man, I'm sick. It's going to be a horrible day. I'm just going to feel sicker. And what I'm telling my brain to feel sicker,
Yeah.
And I feel like, especially I was a child when I was diagnosed. So receiving that, I was always told, oh, you have bipolar. Oh, you need medication. Oh, you're going to need a lot of help. You're not like everyone else. And that's drilled into you pretty much 24/7 between your therapist appointments, your psychiatry appointments, and, so on and so forth. And that can be extremely traumatic. So to get yourself in a positive headspace, especially if you don't have a good support system. I feel like really challenging.
Oh, 100%. And I do talk a lot about, I was very privileged from the standpoint. I had a very supportive family who also educated themselves and actually understood what I was going through from a logical standpoint, not necessarily an empathetic one, but a sympathetic one. And then I had a fantastic mental health provider. She really helped me to embrace my non-medication choices and to really learn myself and treat myself accordingly. And bipolar, I want to be very clear, it is not for everyone to manage it without medication. That was my choice. I had very specific reasons for that choice, but that is not for everybody. But I have been successful with it. It took many years to be successful with it and a lot of support while I was getting. But it's interesting. And as somebody who lived with physical pain most of my life, starting at about 15, I've had a lot of physical pain from various and sundry diagnoses and being shut down by the medical community as a woman because you get, and also as a young person because, oh, you don't know what you want. You don't know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. It does matter what your mindset is. And that's something I always remind people is you can't cure yourself with a positive mindset. That's insane. But you can put yourself in a healthier place, a better place. And you can, again, learn to function with your diagnosis as opposed to working against it and doing things that are contrary. So like I do a lot with diet. I do a lot with very specific physical motions. I also do a lot of grounding work for my mental and emotional health. Grounding work is when you utilize tools to kind of refocus your brain and your emotions into a healthier, more productive channel. And it's really cool. It's really amazing how strong the mind is and how much power it actually has over your day-to-day functionality. Like I tell people my mom willed herself to live at actually at 1.3 points in my life. I was told that my mother was dying and she looked at me and said, "No, I'm not. I'm going to keep living." And she did.
That is amazing.
Medical sense. She should have passed it, but just decided, no, I'm just going to keep living. And so and then my father, same thing. He has some really difficult, complicated diagnoses, but he is incredibly active, incredibly energetic, incredibly positive person. So I had great role models to kind of show me how to do that.
Oh, that's so cool. That is awesome. Yeah, it just shows you how powerful the mind is. And now you specialize in creating teams. So can you tell me a little bit more about that and how, your diagnosis has kind of led you to that position?
Yeah. So actually, it was not my diagnosis.
So sorry, but yeah, go.
No, natural assumption that most people make when they kind of hear my story, they assume I got into it, which would make sense. But no, I got into it. So I was in recruiting and kind of doing some HR work for other companies for years and for a few years. And I saw just a lot of things wrong. And I saw how poorly a lot of people were being treated. And I realized, this doesn't need to be this way. And things shouldn't be this complicated. It shouldn't be this hard to get an accommodation. And it shouldn't be that you're treated this way as a candidate. And you shouldn't be treated less than because of this or that. And so that's why I got into what I do. And I love it. And so now I go around teaching to make accommodation standard options, obviously with fill in the blank options, because there's some things that you're just never going to guess. I teach people how to break their ego defense and respond with curiosity. And I do a lot of work just kind of helping people understand what's different and what that feels like and kind of getting them into a better mind space to kind of accept information as it's told to them. Because that's really what it is once you can get rid of your ego and respond with curiosity as opposed to the I'm right. No, I know. You don't. So once you do that, then all of a sudden the world just gets so much bigger and brighter and you actually start leading better. You're more productive. Your company increases in profits. It's a much better world.
Yeah, that was a barrier I had to get through because I was like that too. Like I'd even have like clients who are hiring me to do the work say, "Oh, it should be like this." And I'm like, "No, I created this business from the ground up, And it's like, you have to really like train yourself. It's just something you have to train for. It's not something that we're naturally given. And so I know I had to struggle with that. And even as recent as a year ago, this was something I was really trying to focus on I had a huge major profession switch. So I kind of went from virtual assistant agency that was doing website design and then went into a marketing agency because we were doing so much website design. And I had to be like, I don't know everything about the marketing world. And that was really, really hard for me because I knew everything about the virtual assistant world. So I could definitely attest to that, trying to get your ego out of the way. It's so hard for for entrepreneurs too, because especially if you have a family that works 9 to 5 jobs, it can be really hard because they always look up to you. They're like, oh man, you run a business. So you know about taxes, you know about this, you know about that. So your ego bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you're like, oh, I don't know everything about that though.
Yeah. There's always stuff that you don't know, right? That you don't know till you know. And especially like with the inclusion stuff, I'm like, oh my God, you can't know everything. You can't. People that eat, live, and breathe this stuff. Like, I mean, I do, and other folks that are colleagues of mine do. It can't know everything. We still learn from each other. And just from random people out there in the world. And it's the same thing with business. You're not going to know everything. So you have to, and the ego defense is natural. That's our brain needing to be right. And so it throws up these defenses. And so these are the reasons why I'm correct. But when you learn to push that back and respond to the question and say something like, tell me more about that, or okay, let's talk about that, then it pushes the boundaries, and that's where you get like innovation, and that's where you get better understanding, building better relationships, and it really difference.
That is amazing. Yeah, that is really cool. And I think it's something, we all need help, especially entrepreneurs. It's such like a lonely position. I know I was a mom and an entrepreneur at once. And so within a month of each other. And I think that was like the loneliest I'd ever felt. And so I think definitely seeking some guidance, especially like, from your company where help, really try to focus on changing that mindset, maybe even helping your team, super, super important. So I'm so excited and happy that you were able to talk about all of this. I'll definitely have to have you on again because I really enjoyed our conversation. And I think it's, the mental health space is something that we really as entrepreneurs need to focus on more. Can you tell us, where can we find you?
Sure. I am all over LinkedIn, and I am one of, I think, Katherine Mccords in the US with my spelling. So I'm super easy to find on there. Unless the population's LinkedIn grown recently. So I am easy to find on there. Message me, connect with me. I'm always happy to connect. Also, my speaker site is kmccordspeaking.com. And then my professional website is titanmanagementusa.com.
Awesome. So you can find Katherine Mccord on all the socials. I'm so, so excited you are here, and we'll talk to you guys next time.